Our scripture reading this morning is from the book of John, chapter 1, verses 1 to 14. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet, to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children, born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth.
As I mentioned to the children when we were talking about moving to different places, I was reminded this week of our move to the city of Cochabamba. It was our very first experience living abroad. And within a very, very short period of time, I found myself in a situation where I had to actually move some property, some belongings from one house to another house that belonged to the mission, a family that had just left. And I knew virtually no one. I certainly didn't know how to arrange a truck and people to help. And I had met this group from a number of places, one from the UK, another family from the US, who had discovered that there was this new Canadian family on the field and that one of them was having a birthday. It was my birthday. And so they invited us and they had a birthday party for me. And I didn't know anyone in the house. One of the individuals, his name is Dan, gave me his phone number and we said goodbye. And I'm sitting there going, I got to move this house. And I have one phone number. And I don't speak Spanish yet. So I call him and I say, hi, Dan, this is Dwayne. I don't know if you remember me. Dan helped me organize a truck. He helped me organize a group of moving people. And we made a friendship that day that lasted our entire time in the field. And that man today is my son's father-in-law. What I have learned is that neighborhoods are places of home. And when you're new to a place, it can be really disorienting and confusing. And if you've lived in a place for a while, we've only been here just now coming up a year. It is, as I said, my birthday, my SBC birthday coming up. And a year's enough time to get to know you, but not enough time to deeply know you. That'll come in time. But when we come to a place, when we decide to put down roots, when we make the decision to say, this is going to be my home, these are going to be my people, we get to know them, we get to know the culture, we get to know the context, we get to know the quirks and the foibles. We get to know what they like and what they don't like, what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. There's something interesting, I think, that crops up again and again, especially amongst people who were born in a place and have never left. And that is this consistent desire to get out. So many on Vancouver Island who were born there, and I remember this from my youth as I grew up. Many of you would dream of living on Vancouver Island. So many from the rest of Canada get there, they decide to retire there. But there are teenagers right now who can't wait to leave. And I think in part it's because our experience with our neighborhoods can be mixed. There's so much good, so many things that are wonderful. But then there's things that are not so good, things that make us want to get out. The passage that Benga just read, I think, catches this. John, he's able to see the tension, the troubling reality that our neighborhoods, our world, this life, can actually be at times quite dark. That's what the Advent journey really is all about as we come to Love Week. It's about facing the stark truth that we have darkness in our world, that things aren't always as they ought to be, that we live with this tension of disappointment, of letdown, even as we have things that we love and cherish. Advent is about a recognition as we light the candles and express hope and peace, joy, and this morning, love, that we so deeply need, that we need that light to penetrate the darkness of our reality. And what's wonderful about Advent, that center candle that we've not yet lit, that we'll light on Wednesday evening, it's the reminder that Jesus is the light and the light is here and has come. It's in Jesus that we can find this hope, we can receive this peace, and we are blessed with joy. And this morning, we have been so beautifully and wonderfully led in this celebration of love. But there's something about the love of Jesus that is distinct. It's not just any old kind of love. It's a love that comes near. I love how Eugene Peterson put it in his translation of the Message. The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. It's brilliant. And this is what I was talking about with the kids, this kind of love that brings connection. We could say it's a love that moves. It's a love that seeks. We all learned during COVID, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but there's a big difference between sending a text or watching a screen and showing up in person. Y'all get that? COVID Zooms were the worst. Karen was on Vancouver Island. I was here. I had just started up in Fort Saskatchewan, and I spent the first 3 months of COVID seeing my wife on my little 13-inch screen. It absolutely was the worst. And that, I think, is what John is talking about. It's this pivotal point that starts us off on his entire book. God didn't stay far away. He didn't shout his love from heaven. He didn't just zoom in. He moved in. He showed up. He took up residence. He got an address. He came and became one of us. The fancy word for this is incarnation. It means God took on a body. He joined us. He got a job. He paid his taxes. He kissed his mama on the cheek. He gets what it means to be one of us. We sing each Christmas of Emmanuel, God with us, and this Emmanuel is Jesus. It's Jesus, but these songs can actually miss something. The familiarity of Advent can actually rob us of that sense of the gritty reality. Jesus chose to come and live a human life. He chose to enter into the darkness and experience the good and a whole lot of the bad. See, this is the kind of love that's not theoretical. It's not distant. It's not a hands-off love. It moved. It came near. It entered into our space, and it still does. It's the kind of love that chooses closeness over comfort. On Friday, we had the mustard seed lunch, and Alan and I were there. And we had this opportunity to sit with people, and that's what we do. We sit. We don't just go and serve them. We sit down and we eat with them. And we do this to be close. We do this to connect. Because so often our friends who live on the margins of society are ignored. They're overlooked. They're underappreciated. And to have someone look them in the eyes and speak to them and listen to them, to pay attention to them, can make a huge difference. Not just to them, but to both of us. That's what Jesus did. He sat down. He looked us in the eyes. He paid attention. He became one of us. Because of this, he knows what it means to live a human life. He's been tired. He's been hungry. He's experienced joy and disappointment and pain. And when we are attentive, when we can actually notice, Advent reminds us that Jesus came all the way to be with us. And what is so unbelievably awesome about this is that we didn't do anything to deserve it. We don't have to clean ourselves up first. We don't have to suddenly earn his attention. I don't have to jump up and down and wave like sometimes I need to do to get you to come back in after the connect time. He's paying attention. And he meets us where we are. Jesus made the trip because we can't. And I find this to be amazing in no small part because of who Jesus is. See, this love that moves towards us, the love that created light and life from the very beginning. John says it this way, through him all things were made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all people. This is a love that builds us. It builds us up. It created us from the very beginning. It's Jesus. And Jesus is what God's love looks like when it walks around. It's God's love personified. And this love existed before all of creation. John calls Jesus the Word and declares that the Word was with God and that he is God. And through this Word, through Jesus, everything was made. And that is a profound statement. It pulls our attention all the way back to the first chapter of Genesis. All the way back to the beginning. Jesus was there. This love is a life-giving love. A love that builds up, that brings order, meaning, and purpose, even in the midst of the chaos and darkness of our world. He is the light that shines in the dark. And this is what we're celebrating as we light the Advent candles. On Wednesday evening, we will light that center candle as a way of remembering and celebrating that Jesus is come, has been here, and remains so today. And that light that came in him, it simply cannot be extinguished. But do you get what John is saying here? Do you get what he's trying to get across to us? That love didn't begin at Christmas. It didn't start in a manger. Before anything existed, that love was there. I think it's wonderful. But John also doesn't shy away from the difficult parts of this story. Jesus came to his own, the world he made, but the world in its confusion, in its darkness, missed him and rejected him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Jesus faced rejection. He was despised. He was missed. He was killed. But the good news underneath all of this pain and disappointment that I can only imagine he must have felt is that this love that built the world did not abandon it when the world pushed back. Don't miss this. Love stayed. Love stayed when we pushed it away. Love stayed when we said no. Love stayed when we insulted and despised and crucified. Love stayed even when it was not welcome. This is a love that stays. It's not a fragile love, and it continues even when we don't love him back. Jesus does not force himself on us, but neither does he disappear. He stays present and patient. And he doesn't give up on us. And I, for one, am grateful for that. His love is persistent, which means we don't have to hide our doubts. We don't have to pretend we don't have confusion. We can ask our questions, even the hardest ones. Jesus is present when faith feels hard, when prayers feel unanswered, when everything seems to be disappointing and letting us down. This is a love that moves towards us, a love that builds us up and builds up life, a love that stays with us. And it is a love that invites us into a family. But to all who believed in him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. It's a love that saves. He didn't just come, he didn't just visit, he didn't just fly over and do a project. He wasn't a short-term missionary. And he doesn't just live next door like many of our neighbors, seen and unheard. He invited us and invites us into his home, into his kitchen. He invites us to sit at his table. He invites us into relationship and belonging. And if we choose to come, Jesus changes our story. Gives us a new identity, not just forgiven, but adopted, becoming children of God. And this means we are known, we are named, and we are loved. It's not just a second chance, or a third, or a 50th. It's a whole new beginning. It's love that moves towards us, love that builds us up, love that stays with us, and love that welcomes us home. That's the story we're invited to live. This is really at the heart of it all, isn't it? It's an invitation. What Advent has been from the very beginning is really an invitation into spiritual formation, formed by the love that comes near. Spiritual formation is not about trying harder to love God. It's about being shaped over time by the love that has already come to us in Jesus Christ. John invites us not just to believe in something, but to live differently because love has moved in. And I think it allows us to let love find us where we are. Because we can get lost, can't we? It's a love that does not wait for our readiness, doesn't hover at a distance until our conditions approve. It comes into real neighborhoods, real lives, real pain, pain and places that is marked by memory, by contradiction, beauty, and yes, even shadow. And this matters because so much of our inner lives are shaped by the assumption that we must become something else or someone else before we can be met by God. More faithful, more certain, more settled, more good. But this is not what this is all about. Because Jesus brings a love that does not require us to change first. It comes near to us as we are, tired, hopeful, distracted, sincere, uncertain, and unfinished. Our formation doesn't begin when we finally arrive somewhere spiritually, but when we stop hiding where and who we actually are. This is a love that changes not by demanding something from us, but by offering something to us, the presence of Jesus. We are shaped and formed and healed as we open ourselves to being found by Him, not improved, not resolved, but simply present and honest in the light of a love that has already come near. In this, I think we can learn to trust this love that stays. The light of Jesus shines even when it is resisted. It remains even when it is dismissed. John does not romanticize the world that Jesus enters. He tells us plainly that love was met with confusion and rejection, and yet this love did not withdraw. That's the remarkable nature of this love. It's a countercultural love. It's not the kind of love we can produce. But this is essential for our formation, for our wholeness, because many of us assume that struggle or doubt or disappointment is a sign of failure. But the gospel tells us a different story. God's nearness is not fragile. It does not depend on our clarity or our consistency or our emotional steadiness. It does not disappear when our faith feels thin or our prayers feel unanswered. Over time, it is resting in the truth that Jesus remains. And as we rest in that truth, it forms us into becoming steadier people. Not people who have everything figured out. Just look at me, that's obviously true. But people who no longer panic when things feel unresolved. We learn to trust a love that stays, a love that does not leave when it is questioned, a love that remains present even when we aren't able to fully receive it. And I think there's an invitation to live from this place of belonging. Because this is a love that comes near. It does not merely visit, it makes a home. It does not hover at the edges of our lives. It plunges right into the center of them. To receive Jesus is not simply to accept forgiveness, but to receive a whole new life, a new way of being, a life no longer shaped primarily by approval or performance or comparison, but a life shaped and formed in belonging. When we live from this place, our stories will begin to change. We become less guarded and less hurried. We no longer need to prove our worth or secure our place because love has already named us and claimed us. This kind of love forms us quietly. It gives us the freedom to be present with others without fear of losing ourselves. It creates space for generosity, for patience, and for welcome. Because we are no longer living as guests, but as people who know we're at home. Love that comes near shapes us into people who move through the world with steady confidence, open hands, who create room at the table for others to join us. The story we've been sitting with this Advent is not about a God who stayed at a distance. It's about a God who came near, a God who moved toward us. A God who spoke light into darkness, who is still bringing life into places we cannot yet see or name. A God who stayed even when we didn't recognize him, when we were distracted, unsure, or tired. And still, he welcomed us, not as strangers, but as sons and daughters. So in this moment, before we rush back into the pace of our lives, let us simply receive him. Release the need to earn, the need to fix, or the need to rush. Advent reminds us that God's work often begins quietly, forming us from the inside out, not by force, but by invitation and presence. Not by striving, but through grace. As we move into the final days of this year's Advent, may we carry what we've received: hope, peace, joy, and love. May we learn to trust the God who came near in Jesus Christ. And today I would like to close with the words from the 6th verse of O come, Emmanuel. O come, O bright and morning star, bring us comfort from afar. Dispel the shadows of the night and turn our darkness into light. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to you, O Israel. Father, thank you. Thank you for sending your Son. Thank you for piercing the darkness of this world of our hearts and bringing that light that cannot and will not be dispelled. And Lord, this Christmas, as we move through the various activities, whether they be busy with family or maybe we're alone and lonely, I pray, Lord, that you would pause each and every one of us. Help us to notice that your love is present. Lord, I pray you would coax our wayward hearts to come back to you. That this Christmas would be a profound moment of a deep recognition that each and every one of us is loved by you, and that you have made a place at your table, in your home, in your family. So Jesus, thank you for coming. We give you the glory, and we ask in your name that you would give us hope, peace, joy, and love, and that we in turn would spill that out over a world that needs good news. In Jesus' name we pray.